Good afternoon, everyone. Today is a very lovely day. It's sunny and bright and shiny outside. We've got two lovely ladies who will be sharing with us on parenting and children's mental well-being during this lockdown. So, my name is Elizabeth Dada, and I've got Tolu Akisomi with me, and I've got Mrs. Shola for Alabi and Mrs. Ronke Posh Adeniyi. I like putting the posh because she's very, very posh in everything she does. Excellence. So I will hand over to Tolu to actually do an introduction of our guest today.
Hi everyone, it's great to be here. And like Elizabeth said, it's a lovely, lovely day outside and inside as well. So this is Diamond and Pearl's podcast hosted by Precious Pearl, and we're gonna get through all the things I want to talk about in a minute. But before we go on, I'd like to introduce our lovely, lovely guest. Um, Today. So, like Elizabeth said, Elizabeth is one of our members in Precious Pearl, and she hosts our podcast. We have Mrs. Ronke Adeniyi here, also known as Ronke Posh. Ronke, who's she? She's fondly called Ronke Posh. She's a fun-loving and enthusiastic lady, a lover of God, a wife, and mum. She holds a BSc in biochemistry from the Queen Mary's University of London and a master's degree in business administration from the University of Hull in the United Kingdom. She's also a certified and experienced Montessori directress. She received her training from the Modern Montessori Institute in London, actually, and holds a postgraduate diploma in education. Ronke Posh is known for a vast experience in banking, education, and children's entertainment sectors. She's a serial education entrepreneur, and she loves to empower, motivate the young and old to greater heights. Okay. If you don't know, she also owns one of the best preschools and primary schools in Ikoyi, Lagos, Nigeria, also called the Posh School. She runs a children entertainment company called Posh Party Pack. She's a founder of the Health and Homes Initiative, which focuses on parenting in the 21st century, and also the proper recruitment of domestic workers in homes in order to prevent risks to families. She's very passionate about the subject of, as a result of being a victim herself after she relocated to Nigeria from United Kingdom. She has a very keen interest in protecting children who are, often victims of dangerous domestic workers. She is also a parenting practitioner, a certified family life therapist, and practitioner of neuro-linguistics programming, NLP. And she uses this to coach and support parents in a parenting Facebook community called Parents' Right. So check that out on Facebook and support Ronke. She runs training courses online and offline. She's a public speaker. I've actually listened to one of her talks, and it's fantastic. Ronke Posh has been featured on many platforms and media platforms, NTA, TVC, Guardian newspaper, and other blogs and media outlets. And also, she's the author of the best-selling book for kids, Right Kid 101. Thank you so much, Ronke, for joining us today. We're delighted to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
Great. And also, I'd love to introduce our second guest, who holds a special place in my heart, Shola Alabi. She's also a member of Precious Pearl, and she's been supporting us right from the very start. She's right there when we launched, and she's right there supporting all the projects that we've been doing. So she's a part of our family, really. Who's Shola Alabi? She's a British trained qualified teacher, an education and parenting consultant, and an entrepreneur in the private education business. Shola has been in the education space for 20 years. She spent her early career as a teacher and middle leader in secondary schools in London and Thurrock. She left mainstream teaching altogether to start her own education centers. She runs her very own thriving and successful tuition centers in Grays and Southeast London. She manages a team of teachers both online and offline, Her desire is to see students excel and become very successful. She's authored 4 parenting books, one of which is an Amazon bestseller. She has recently launched a golden project, Parent Box, which is an online study program that empowers parents with information to navigate the UK education system with clarity and ease from preschool to post-secondary school. You can find out more about Shola's golden project and the work she does at sholaalabi.com/parent box /. So thank you so much, Shola Alabi, for joining us. I always call her Sister Shola. She's my big sis. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited to have you with us as a guest.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you so much. It is a joy to be here. Thanks, Tolu.
Right. So over to you, Elizabeth. She's going to be hosting and taking us through the podcast today.
Thank you so much, Shirley, for that beautiful introduction of our lovely ladies and our lovely guests. They both carry so much wealth of experience that I've been very fortunate to know Ronke Posh, and I've been very fortunate to be in a parent rights group as well. And I've been learning a lot from her by being intentional with my parenting. And having both of them on here today, it feels like I'm about to tap into the wealth of experience again. I'm about to relearn, or how will I say it, learn new things as well, because learning is an everyday occurrence. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. So today we'll be talking about parenting and our kids during this lockdown. How do we help them mentally, emotionally? You know, as an adult, even though I pride myself on the fact that I love being in my little bubbles most times, but during the lockdown, I found out that I don't like being in my little bubbles. I actually want to have a physical contact with another human being. So we're looking at how can we help our kids? You know, how can we help our kids as parents during this lockdown? What can we do? So I will go first to Sister Shola Alabi to say, you know, as parents in this environment we find ourselves, in this new normal we find ourselves, as parents, how can we help our kids?
Oh, thank you very much for that, Elizabeth. First of all, as parents, we should be able to help ourselves, first of all, before we can then transfer the help to our children. I have young people. I mean, my youngest, or younger, because I've only got the 2, is 15. And what has been happening over the last more than a couple of weeks, number of weeks, is just discovering ourselves. I remember the first week, I do like to share a lot of stories where it was a case of no school, you know, no work, everyone's actually in each other's faces. So what we decided to do is for us to just do like a temperament test, just to know who we really are. I mean, in knowing our temperaments. So one of the things that I shared, or I'd say to most of the parents that I work with, is first of all, identify who you guys really are, so then you can help and support one another. I am the into myself type of person. My son, funny enough, falls into that category, but the other 2 fall into the not being able to sit still. So what we do, or what's happened, is that both of them actually go out for a bit of exercise, you know, just to maybe walk out, sometimes drive to graze, get some bits and pieces, come back home. But what the both of us who are actually, we've picked up on 10 minutes exercise. So just first of all, know who you really are, and then look for things that can help support, because that would help alleviate all of the stress that could happen. So I speak for those of us that have young people. For those that have younger children as well, take it easy, calm down. You know, I know we're at home schooling the kids. We want to get through all of the work, but please, my advice and suggestion is please slow down and get to know them. Get for the kids to know you as well, and have a good time. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. I think that's speaking to me. I've got younger kids and I'm always trying to like make sure they finish everything on the day so we don't have any carryover. But I found that it wasn't working. We were all stressed out, mentally stressed out. The same question to you as well, Ronke. You know, I love the fact that Sister Shola's pointed out that, you know, we need as parents to know ourselves first before we can actually help ourselves first before we can actually help the kids. You know, what do you think about, you know, as parents, us helping our kids during this lockdown?
Thank you, Sister Shola. I enjoyed that. I started feeling like a guest, like a guest. I was just listening and enjoying your story about your family. So what can I add to that really? So how can we support our children at this time? Now the lockdown is easing now. So I think a lot of parents have explored one thing or the other. Whether or not it has been successful is a whole different completely. However, when the lockdown started, one of the things I said, albeit I didn't realize it was going to be this long, to be honest. I asked my daughter how she was feeling, what she thought about the whole lockdown experience and not going to school. I just wanted to know how she felt. I mean, I think at the beginning, I didn't know how to feel. I wasn't sure. Because people have different responses at this point in time. And it was surprising that she had two major concerns. The first one, she said, "Mommy, but it's my birthday next week. Oh. It's my birthday next week." And I don't want to do my birthday on my own. You know, that was what was important to her. It's an only child day. So that was the first concern. Her second concern was, I have checkpoint exams in June. So if we close down, I've been studying and working hard. So is that a waste of time? And I really, really appreciated the fact that I asked her those questions, because one of the things you can do to support our children is to make them feel important, make them feel relevant, and let them understand that they also have an opinion and their opinion is valid. So what we did that week, we quickly got someone to bake us. So we sorted that one out. The second one, we asked the school. The school says, okay, we're just going to follow what's happening in the UK. Ultimately, they haven't had the exams in the council. We all know that right now. But we're able to carry her along. So what I'm trying to say now is that when we experience something like this, whether of this magnitude or not, we need to support the children by understanding that they count. They count. How do they feel? How are they taking the whole issue? You know, some children are locking themselves up. Some children are on social media. Some children, they don't know how to feel. Some children are erratic. They're up and down the place. So just like you plot a graph, you just really need to manage and follow them. And the thing is, you can't give what you don't have, because if you're all over the place, how are you really going to support a child that is all over the place? So in supporting them, you have to have this meeting, this family meeting. It's very, very important. No matter how small your family is, even if you're a single mom, you can have this family meeting, you and your child, and you can say, okay, what are we going to do? This is something that nobody has experienced before. And as I like to say, it is a crisis. I am not a crisis manager, and I don't know I don't even know any crisis manager. People that do stuff like that usually work in industries and things, you know. So nobody has ever experienced this thing. So we'll take it each day at a time. Communication. Tell me how you're feeling. Tell me when I irritate you, and I'll tell you when you irritate me. You know, communicate, communicate, and communicate. It's so important. So we're doing that on a daily basis. How are you feeling? We were sharing the same table, working from the same table. I mean, my own family is small and intimate, so it makes things pretty easy. So supporting them with the things that they need, how they are feeling, helping them. So I got her like some printouts on the internet to put how she's feeling. And I told her to journal the whole experience and try and track the things that she has achieved over this period of time. Just making sure that you're there for them. Making them feel important, so I don't go on too much. Okay?
Thank you very much. I like the fact that you call that the fact that we need to have like family meeting. So one of the things I found useful when the situation lockdowns that happened was saying to the kids what would they miss most about them being at home. You know, what would they miss most? And one of the things they missed was having their friends. You know, having the ability to go and play with their friends, have a play date. My middle one said, "Oh, she missed not being able to go for football every Saturday," and you know, it might seem irrelevant to us, but it was like the end of the world for them when they start mentioning the things that they would miss. And I was like, we need to consciously make sure that even though they're not physically seeing their friends, they can at least still call their friends. So I have been intentional about making sure I video call the parents. I send them a message saying, "Is it okay for Tony to speak to your daughter?" Blah blah blah, and then do the video call, and that's helped them settled as well. Thank you so much for that. And I like the fact you said that you know you've got the importance of family time. So especially now that we're all at home, how do we manage family time better? When I say family time better, it's not just us sitting around the dining, having a meal, you know, having our family chat every now and then, but how do we better manage it? How do we do it in a way that, you know, let me use this word. How do we do it in a way that we manage to capture the expectations and then we try to manage their expectations? Because at the moment, there's a lot of pressure on parents, especially being at home with the kids. I've managed to like see characters and traits of my kids that I never knew they had. So how can we use family time to manage those expectations? So I'll go to you first, Ronke.
Oh no, she needs to.
You need to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I had already muted myself, getting ready to listen to the Shola already. Already, you know. So, all right, wake up, girl. So, other than having family time around the dining table, you said, how can we better manage family time, right?
Yes, and yes, manage the family time and also the expectation that the kids will have. Because the thing is, we can't just say we're having family time. There will be some expectations from the kids to the parents. So how can we better manage those?
So what are the expectations, to be honest? So it's in communicating that you will know what the expectations are. So I can't bang on enough about communication because you're not in anybody's mind, you're not in anybody's head, you're not a magician, you're not, or perhaps you are, but you still can't tell what their thoughts are. So if you don't communicate and if you don't ask, then you'd never know. So it's very important to understand the personality type of your child, of your husband, or the people at home, because it's not every child that is vocal and actually wants to communicate and talk to you. And we must understand that there are verbal and non-verbal ways of communicating. So your child might not open up and say, "I just want to be left alone," but stays away. You have to get it. You don't have to be in that child's room and say, "What's the matter? Are you okay? Are you watching porn?" You know, that's the rating thing now on social media. Children are watching porn, and so the children that are just doing their own thing, they're not watching porn, they're not being naughty, they just want their own space. They're not used to you. That's the truth. A lot of family members, husbands, wives, children, they're not used to each other. They're like strangers, they just cohabit. So this time around, they have to live together.
Yeah.
So you have to respect boundaries. Not every child wants to do what everybody wants to do. You know, some people have 5 children. Okay, it's prayer time. Let's all gather around and like, it's time to watch a movie. You know, the mom is proactive. She has gone on Instagram and Facebook and downloaded all the schedules that are roaming about. But there's no one size fits all for one family. Yeah. And there's no one size fits all for the children. They're all different and they're going to want different things. So whatever it is that you plan, we're going to be baking cupcakes today, so cute, so that you can put it on Instagram and TikTok. Your child doesn't want to be on TikTok with you. They don't. So let them know. Number one, for me, I mean, it's very easy for me because my daughter and I have a lot of rapport. So she can tell me instantly, I don't want you in my TikTok video. Move back. You know? And I would respect that. And it's fine. And sometimes she will say, "Okay, mommy, let's do a video or record me or something." She will communicate whatever it is. So it's easy. Now, you have to know, do you have a child like that? Or you have a child that isn't like that? Are you paranoid? Do you respect the children? Are you reliving your own past through your children? So you expect that whatever it is that they're doing and it looks shady is shady, and probably they're not. You know, or were you a perfect parent or a perfect child and expect your own child to be perfect, or vice versa, and things like that. So there's a lot of rubbish in the dynamics that can happen. So those expectations, they're too varied. Just understand that some children will tell you what it is that they want. Some will not tell you what it is that they want, but you must be able to respect whatever decision that they make. However, as a parent, you should also have rules and guidelines. Have a vision in your house that is important for us to eat around the table at least once a day. So even if you want to lock yourself in your room from morning to night, as long as you respect the rules that we're not going to have Wi-Fi in your room. So all those rules are there. So whatever the child wants to do, they want to stay away for a period of time. As long as you don't break those rules, you come down when it's time for us to eat around the table. You don't use Wi-Fi in your room because we're not allowed to use Wi-Fi in the room. You know, just have those rules that align with your vision, so that the child also has room and flexibility to be who they are, to do whatever it is that they want to do. So they have their own expectations, whether they share it or not. You have your own expectations as a family. So you sit down, you discuss it. They should know anyway, but if you don't have a family constitution and things like that, you can begin to build it so that everybody is speaking the same language. I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does. It does. I like what you said about, you know, letting them be. I've got a preteen. She's going to be 13 this year, and every now and then she goes into her room and just shut the door. And then I said to the younger ones, leave your sister. She wants her alone time. She won't really talk per se, but when she's ready to talk, she'll just come sit beside you and say, what are you doing? And then she calls out. So it's understanding the dynamics with each child, and then using that. And the other thing, what I like about what you said about, you know, saying, come down, let's pray, let's do this, let's do that. I found that in my church, they've done a lot of activities for the teenagers and seniors. So they've got a lot of Zoom activities. And one of the things I said to my daughter is, do you want to participate in those? It's not mommy's forcing you. You don't have to. Because I need to let her understand that, you know, her not joining doesn't mean she doesn't love God. So I picked on that because, you know, we tend to like think, yeah, it's good. This is a time to spend, you know, in the presence of God and everything, but we shouldn't do it in a way that our kids will feel like we're forcing stuff on them. So I totally agree with that. Sister Shola, I'll come to you. You know, she said about understanding each child, understanding the dynamics, and, you know, Ronke has talked about all of that. And then, you know, my question is, are there new things that we can, I know, yeah, we would understand our kids, but sometimes we need to help our kids to expand their horizon, expand their ways of thinking, you know, making them think outside the box. Do you know of, you know, can you suggest any new things that we can utilize, you know, to help our kids discover themselves, to discover who they are during this period? We are discovering them in a new way. I've learned some things about my kids. This is me thinking my kids are perfect, but I've seen some stuff that I'm thinking, hey, Jesus. But how can, you know, what are the things that we can do to help them discover more about themselves, to help them think outside the box?
Right, sorry, I was only just distracted there. My son's just finished his Saturday science session, so he was just jumping down the stairs, you know, so sorry about that. Yeah, the question is, what are other things, or how can we discover some of the gifts or whatever our children have? Sorry, I was distracted there. So is that the question? How can we discover?
What are the things that we can introduce our kids to now, apart from that, you know, we're learning to know our kids now. I know that there's so many things out there that, you know, that can help them think outside the box, that can help them discover themselves more, you know, at this time. So what are the things you can suggest that, you know, can help as parents, help our kids to discover more about themselves, to help them think outside the box?
Okay, I would use a recent discovery here within our family unit, we've had a chess board here for, I can't remember for how long we've had it. My older daughter used to be actually she used to do quite a lot of chess competition, but we didn't realize that child number 2 was interested, because we've, well, not really had the opportunity as we have right now, where everybody is at home. So there was an evening where everybody was, you know, what can we do? What have we, everybody was just bored. And I can't remember who suggested, why don't we board games? And so we don't have any board games. And I then went looking, and then we brought that out. And every evening, well, not every evening, like almost every other evening, Holiday has actually been in a tournament with his father, you know, playing chess. So it's looking at what you have around, you know. I'm sure by the time we look through, we would find things that would tickle the fancy of the children. Also, you know, having conversations with them, finding out what they really like, doing an audit with them. What do you really like? What is it that you really like to do? Cordelia as well, who is my older one, finishing off, thank God, next week at uni. So what she did, of course, having to study and having to, it's kind of different, you know. And what she did a couple of weeks ago was, she has a backdrop. I mean, because she's into a lot of picture taking, photography and all that. She had a backdrop, and she told her dad to take this mirror that is right behind me, which is in our living room, outside into the garden. And then she put the backdrop on there, took a few pictures. And the next thing I saw, she was sitting down there typing up her essay or her dissertation. And I'm thinking, what is this child doing outside? So it's just mixing things up. What you have in the house might be something that might be something hidden that your child would embrace and run with. There's quite a lot of stuff on the internet as well. There's lots of, I know one of my clients, her daughter has actually taken to coding, you know, which they didn't realize it was something that she wanted to do. One thing I do with all of my kids when we finish online, thank God for online sessions now, is I ask them for just one thing that they will be taking on board. I just say one thing or one word. It could be one word about the lesson, which gives me feedback, you know, or one thing that you're going to do differently over the course of the week. So some of them would say, I would learn a little bit more about myself. I will do, you know, and I would take notes of that. So just asking those questions, looking at what you have at home. If I actually turn or tilt the camera a little bit, you'll see my daughter's lights, you know, for pictures and stuff. So there's so many things that you could actually do. Questioning could be the first thing, asking them what they really want to do, no matter how weird it might sound. Because I remember when my daughter was asking me a number of years ago, oh, Holiday's gifts is really, you can actually see it. He's into football. He does quite a lot of football. But mine, I don't know what I really like. And I just said to her, just keep looking within. You like to talk a lot. You like to be in everybody's space. You know, think of something that you could do. So just having those conversations with them, getting them to explore would help bring out some of these things that they could do whilst hopefully still on lockdown for a little bit longer. I hope that's answered the question.
Yeah, it did answer the question. When you were talking about coding, I know where I work every day they send an email with a list of classes because they're trying to promote our mental well-being by us staying stuck at home. So they send an email every day with a list of classes that you can actually do as an adult, or you can do with children, and with age bracket on there. Initially, the first 3 weeks of them sending that email, I ignored it because I just like, I haven't got time to do it, and you know, I don't think I want my kids doing this. Until one day, I just decided to ask the question, who will be interested in doing a dance class? And they're like, oh, what's the dance class? And I said, oh, they keep sending me emails about dance class, about coding, about this, about that. And they're like, oh, we would love to do that. And it just, you know, from what you just said, and I discovered that my second daughter, my first daughter now is actually she did a simple game using coding, and she was showing it to me yesterday. And I was like, I've missed a lot by just ignoring all those emails in the last 4 or 5 weeks, whereas I could have done a lot if I'd asked the question, you know, from them saying, will you be interested in doing this, or will you be interested in doing that? So I think the thing for parenting is not just to assume that kids will not have an interest in whatever, we've got going, or whatever we find around us. We should ask them the question saying, will you be interested? And then we should make it clear to them as well that it's not a case of, if they say they're not interested, there'll be in some sort of trouble, especially with us being African parents sometimes, which I'm relearning, as Ronke would say. We need to relearn how to be parents, not make the mistake of, I was brought up this way, but we need to relearn. I have another question to both of you. I know you're both in the educational sector. I know Sister Shola has said that we shouldn't, make sure that they're doing everything, ticking the box and everything, that, it's their mental well-being that we should be after. So my question is this: how do you support a child, especially in the UK, that most of them, their exams has been cancelled, and they're going to grade them based on whatever work they've done over the years? So how do you help a child that falls into that category to manage their anxiety, one, to manage because how will I put it? I've seen cases of kids not really doing well in school, term not really doing well in school, but when exam comes, I think it's more or less they can be bothered doing some of the stuff, but when exam comes, they put in their best and they come out with flying colors. So how do you help kids that fall into that category? So I'll throw the question to both of you, whoever wants to answer first, because this is something that I think parents need to know, how to manage that anxiety of not knowing what grades they're going to end up with, the anxiety of, will my grades have turned out better if I sat for the exam, and that depressed feeling sometimes for some of them, thinking I give it all my all and yet I'm not allowed to sit for the exam. So how do we manage this as parents?
Okay, two things. I mean, because of course I would go first, because it's actually something that's happened here, never happened before, where the GCSE or the A-level exams have been cancelled. But hey, COVID-19 has actually brought a change to to everybody's life, really. What I said to a lot of my students, first of all, and of course their parents, was this: for the children, don't worry. The whole 2020 set falls into that category. So it's not just you, because of course we need to think about, like you said, their emotional well-being. The second thing was, right, let's wait and see what the government are suggesting or what they're saying. So thank God, the grades would actually be, it's actually going to be it's going to be quality assurance in how the grades are actually given. So it's based on how your child has actually been performing all throughout the year. And peradventure, you're not happy with the grade you have been given, there would be an opportunity for your child to write the exam in the next school year. So we haven't got the dates, or we don't know what the dates are. So for those who fall into that category, I mean, some children are kind of happy because they've always been predicted high grades, which is good. But for some children, which, I mean, there's a really big percentage of children who would sit up just before the exam. Those are the ones that really goes out to. For those children, they would have the opportunity to still, make up after the term or in the new term. The second thing I'm going to say, this is actually to the parents or to the guardians or the carers. We should try as much as possible not to let our children fall into that category of leaving everything to the last minute because of what happened. My son's in year 10, and honestly, after that, I could actually see a big difference. It was more or less a wake up. And I said to him, hello, thank God, this is not you. Because if it's you, what would we be saying? So anything can happen. We don't wait till the last minute. So this could also be like a lesson. So we can actually use those words to tell our children who are not in that year, who are just before the year, or who are in whatever, just to make sure that we don't leave things to the last minute. We need to obviously be consistent with our learnings. Thank God there's going to be an opportunity for those who fall into the category where the grades are not as fantastic as they should, and we're waiting till May, June to make sure they fix it, they would still have the opportunity in October or November, not sure when. But for those who are a couple of years before, make hay when the sun shines. And just
Thank you so much, Sister Shola. Ronke?
So I wouldn't want to repeat the same thing because she's pretty much covered what I would have steered towards. It's just that we should just take away the teaching moments. It's very important that we use this as a teaching moment for our children, even for ourselves, because sometimes the children might have worked harder if they had more of our support. So are we checking on them more? Are we going to plan to check on them more and see how they're doing? Because if we have a teaching moment, say for example, we're telling the child, this is the importance of working hard throughout to be consistent in life, as opposed to when you have that big interview or you have that big exam. Remember the COVID period. You will never know what else is going to come upon us again. If it's COVID now, it might be something else next time. So you must be prepared. So I tend to use the story of the 10 virgins. I'm a Christian. In the Bible, 5 were ready, 5 were not ready. So are you part of the foolish ones, or are you part of the ones that were ready? So keep that oil. Make sure that you're consistent in what you're doing all the time. Make sure that you're researching. Make sure you're going beyond the call of duty. Because even in my professional life, I found that the reason why the COVID didn't hit me as hard and didn't hit the school where I work as hard was because we were consistent in the things that we were doing. Very, very consistent. We prepared ahead. So we were researching. We were following what was happening in other countries even before it came to Nigeria. So by the time it came to Nigeria, we were very responsive in the things that we did. We were able to get the children online immediately. So just use it as a teaching moment for the children. Let's not cry over spilled milk. It has happened. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. In life, we fail, but we must fail forward. Just pick up the lessons, gather them, and just forge ahead.
Well, thank you very much. That's so good. That's brilliant. I hope that the parents that would listen to this will make use of that. It's not the end of the world. You know, I remember when my daughter sat for the 11 plus, and then when I took her to our center, she said to me, "Any last words, Mom?" before she went in. And I said, "Do your best. It's not the end of the world." And she looked at me. This is me that has been shouting and, for the last 3 years, preparing her for the exam. And then I told her, do your best. It's not the end of the world. And she's looking at me like, are you for real? But guess what? It's not really the end of the world. There's so many options, like Sister Shola has pointed out, they for those people that fall into that category, they have a fallback, to get to write the exams and stuff like that. So I think parents need to understand that it's really not the end of the world. There's so many things out there. Also, one of the things I've learned in this period as well is we kind of like, someone asked me the question recently when we were talking about something at work, that if any of my kids decided that they were not going to go to university, that would I blow a fuse? And I had to pause because my first reaction was, God forbid. And then I thought, hold on a second, this is a viable question and a viable point as well, that I've never thought of it in that way. So I'm going to throw this to you as our educationist and as a parent. If for whatever reason you come across a parent that has come to speak to you to say, hold on, my daughter or my son decides that they do not want to go to uni, especially with all what's going on at home now, and them thinking that actually I can do this, I can do that, I don't need you education, what would your advice be to those parents, and how will you help them get their head around, how can I help my child in other ways?
Right, the first question I would ask that child is, what exactly do you want? What do you want because there must be a reason behind that decision. And as I always say as well, that this thing should not catch us as surprise. It should not be at the stage where a child needs to be translating into that stage, that it should come as a surprise to us. Not every child is academically inclined. I've had to come to realize that over the years. But it should not be at the stage whereby the child is moving on that we then realize, oh, it's a shock to us. There are so many other alternative routes or alternate routes to getting to the end point, which is why I'd said the first thing should be, what exactly is it? What's the plan for this child? So we take it from there. So if a child wants to become an engineer, you don't have to go to university to become an engineer. Thank God for all the other routes. One of the modules in Parent Box, which is my golden project, actually looks at all the different routes past secondary school, so post-secondary school. So yeah, post-secondary school. So if a child suggests they're not going to university, my next question would be, what next? What exactly is the option or the route? Does that make any sense? So
yes, it does.
In as much as, I mean, thank God, my child number one finishes next week, Thursday, to the glory of God. My child number two, you know, and we haven't had the conversation of, no, he's not going, you know, so, but as I said, there are so many other routes to still getting to the end of the road. So if you know, if your child, like I said, chooses to go on to study, well, of course, there's only one route, becoming a medical doctor, as far as I know for now, then you'd have to support the child and find out why. You know, lifelong learning is another keyword or a buzzword. You know, it might be a case of, I'm not going now, you know, so it's just making sure what the intention of the child is. I'm not going now, but I will be going, you know, later. I want to go through this route, but that is my end point. So knowing where the child wants to be would make it easier to make those informed decisions. Have I answered the question?
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. What Ronke, from you know, you're in the Nigerian sector, and we kind of like hammer on education as being, you know, the go-to, you know, the golden thing that you have to do as an African parent. And, you know, we don't even want to hear it most times, that our kids don't want to.
It's still golden. Sorry.
I know it's still golden, but the way we take it, especially in Nigeria, we take it like it's the end of the world. So from your point of view, Ronke, and also what other routes is there in Nigeria that, you know, if any parents have their kids fall into that category, what can they do? Because most people growing up, most of my friends that I know were forced to do courses they did not like, to be honest.
Okay, so congratulations, Sister Shola, again, your son, well done. You'll be a grandma real soon. Get ready.
Sorry, I just pressed the wrong button there.
I was about to say that.
Okay, so with Nigeria, the hustle is different. The battles are different. The demands are different. So we can't, a child with growing up in a third world country like Nigeria does not have the unfair advantage of a child born in America, say, for example. By default, an American citizen has rights to so many things that the typical Nigerian child would not have a right to. So the Nigerian child needs to fight a bit harder, a bit tougher. And I'm not talking about the Nigerian children that have a British passport or American passport. I'm talking about the Nigerian child that is born and bred in Nigeria. The opportunities are a lot less. However, there are still possibilities. It's not all doom and gloom. It is encouraged for the children and the youth to complete their degree. Again, because the opportunities are limited. The employers would typically ask for a degree. That is just by default. They would typically ask for a degree. Now, if you're bringing up a child like my daughter, for example, she doesn't have a degree. I mean, I'm I want to say I'm a liberal mom, quite enlightened, quite exposed. I've been in the UK for about 20 years plus. So, and she has a British passport. She wants to dance. If she doesn't want a degree, I can't lose sleep over it. So this same question, I'm surprised you haven't even seen it in the group, in the parent right group, parent right live rights on Facebook. I asked the question, and of course we got the God forbid, God, I reject it in Jesus' name. How can my child not do a degree? God forbid, my child must do degree and masters at the very minimum, PhD. How can they not do a degree? You know, because it's a program that has been installed into our generation that you should have a degree. As a matter of fact, a lot of people have degrees they don't use, like you've mentioned. Wrong degrees. Okay, I teach now. Montessori directress, public speaking book author, neuro-linguistics practitioner, family life therapist. That's what I do. What did I study? BSc biochemistry, worked in banking for 10 years. How do those correlate? No knowledge is lost, yes. But really, if I actually started on the path that I'm currently on at an earlier age, I would have gone so much further in my career. But it is what it is. Now, this degree thing, it doesn't mean what it means to us, to our children. So I'll say that again. What the degree means to us is not what it means to our children, especially the ones that will have the first world opportunities. I mean, we know people that work in Google, people that work in IBM that don't have degrees, but they're intellectuals. They think and they'll be able to create opportunities. They'll be able to create maybe apps and things like that has taken them. They've bought into data science, they've bought into artificial intelligence, where you don't necessarily have to have a 4-year degree, a 5-year degree to be great. So we have that time. But in Nigeria, we don't even have a school that is teaching data science. We don't have a university that is teaching social media management. You know, you would have places and people teaching courses independently, but you would not have like an organization for now anyway, that is doing it and certifying it and is internationally recognized. Not yet. So I hope you understand what I mean when I say the opportunities, they are different. So I will not lose sleep, but I understand the reason why the Nigerian parents want their child to have a degree, because they want them to have that advantage, one step ahead from the child in the ghetto. Because if you don't, that's pretty much what it is. So that is why they want it. But with times, my 14-year-old, we're talking about coding earlier on. Since the lockdown, the Monday after the lockdown school on the 20th, the following Monday, she's been coding. She was coding prior to that. And it's amazing the number of things she has learned. I was following at some point, but now she has completely lost me. She does Python and she's doing Java and she's doing so many things. She's 14. She's so great now that her teacher is now saying, I'm going to get her some jobs and I want her to register here for this and register there for that. And it's even beyond what I thought. Now, if she continues at this pace and says, okay, I want to be a software engineer, I don't necessarily want to go and do some kind of degree or whatever it is, and she's doing well, and then she incorporates her dance and she's doing theater and she decides to go to Juilliard, which will also teach her dance, but it's not necessarily the conventional degree, does it make her less of a human being? No. So, but that is me understanding that. And that is me knowing that, okay, if it gets too tough, take your British passport and go and hustle in the UK. So it depends on the opportunities that the child has. But if you're in Nigeria, the battle is different. Just finish your degree. Shikena, at the very minimum. Hustle, do some things on the side while you're at Itland, different life skills, different handy skills, trade, do whatever you want. But just have that degree because they believe in it in this part of the world.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us from a Nigerian's parent's point of view as well. You know, I understand that, you know, the privilege is different from a child here and a child in Nigeria, but hey, the God forbid is the one that gets to me. We tend to spiritualize everything rather than, you know, have a thought and think, how do I, you know, if this happens, what can I do? How can I help my child? So we tend to just do the God forbid. I know we're very religious in Nigeria, but sometimes that gets to me. But hey, it is what it is. Thank you so much for that. So I'm going to ask one final question, and that final question is, what would your word be to children and parents in this lockdown? What will you say to them in this lockdown? Like final words, like, how will I put it? Something along the lines that like I said, it's not the end of the world. It is a new normal. So what would your last word be to parents or to children that would listen to this in this lockdown?
Go on, Sister Charlotte.
Okay.
I'm resting.
Oh gosh, I'm really getting used to this. Yeah, okay. What I would say would be, this has been a discovery moment for us as a family, and we are making the most of the discovery because as I sat back reflecting, I think it was last week Sunday, I realized that our children are growing really quickly. They are, I mean, even if you've got like a 3 or 4 year old, by the end of COVID-19, you would actually see that they've stretched a little bit further. Maximize those moments. I remember when I was speaking to somebody lately as well, I was saying to them that one of the most precious gifts that I have, or I mean, one of the really valuable things I have actually come out from moments of pain. I remember my first book, Parents Understand Your Child. It came from a place of trying to discover, or actually I would say a painful moment when I had child number 2 and I was trying to compare him to child number 1, you know, it was a discovery moment. So at this point in time, we're also discovering, you know, it could be ourselves, it could be our children, it could be something in them. It could even be something that's actually costing us a little bit of pain right now. Telling your child to sit down and they're not sitting down. Just maximize those moments and change it into something precious. Get something beautiful out of it. So the discovery moments, just use them to your advantage so that at the end, when we come out on the other side, woo-hoo, we will be singing and dancing. Yeah, and just to encourage everyone just to hang in there. We're almost at the end of it, you know. Thank God that we're still here. There are a number of people, unfortunately, that have actually gone due to this. So yeah, just encouraging everybody just to hang in there. The parents, the kids, the shouting. I know that we're not supposed to be shouting, but hey, some of those times can be helped. You know, just enjoy and embrace and love this moment.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sister Shola.
Thank you.
To you, Ronke, Posh.
And I'll just use this and overstep my boundaries a bit and say, I've written a book about smacking and shouting, and I want you to contribute to my forward, please. It's just a 101 guide, very simple, few pages to help, because you know what it is like in Nigeria. So I'll be coming for you, Sister Shola, after this. So,
it would be an honor. It would be an honor. It would be an honor.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. So my last few words for now to parents and to children is just take it one step at a time. Enjoy the moment. Look at it that you are safe at home, not stuck at home. Look at it as an opportunity to be grateful. Express a lot of gratitude for those that believe in God. A lot of gratitude because too many lives have been lost. So it's a time for, my daughter had a gratitude journal. If you don't have a gratitude journal, it's a good time to have one and thank God for your daily bread. Thank God for the opportunities. Just continue to thank God and journal it, because this is history that we are making. We'll be telling our children, well, in 2020, I was in the COVID era. Who knows what will be happening then? Maybe we'll be living in Mars, and we'll have these stories to tell our children, and we can show them. We can actually show them and say, this are my notes. These are my notes. You know, when this also started, people looked at it as a holiday. But I've always known that it wasn't a holiday. Yes, people were tired. I was tired. I used it as an opportunity to rest, but not for long, because I had to go back to work immediately. But if you were resting, journal it that you were resting. But you can't need professional help. Act, do, acquire a skill, do something. Don't just sit down. It doesn't have to be big and grand that I can now, create a car. I can now design a website. I can, whatever it is. I've read this book. I know this recipe now. I've worked on my temperament. I shout less. Pick up as many skills as you want, as you can. At the beginning of this COVID, I was telling people that if you need to rest, but acquire a skill, learn, do something. Don't waste this time because you might never get it again in your entire life.
Yeah.
There are people that have come and gone and never experienced what we have now. So you must also know that despite the horror, there's beauty in it. Stick to the beauty. What are the things that you can pick up at this time? Because people always say, I don't have time. Now that you have the time, what are you doing? You're on Instagram and TikTok creating challenges, side chick challenge, naked challenge, bald daddy challenge, all sorts of challenges. Is that how you're going to be accountable? Because God is going to ask you, what did you do with the time that I gave you during the COVID? What are you going to be able to say? I was sleeping for months. I was fighting my spouse, yelling at my children. And those achievements. So a couple of weeks ago, I was able to show a number of things I've learned, things I didn't even know that I could do, that could even help me in my business because, I work as an educator, but I also work independently as a consultant doing other things. I need a lot of animation and so many new 21st century skills that will help to push my business forward. I was able to learn so many of them. Even today, I spent most of the day in bed catching up on courses. And those courses, a lot of them are free. Google was offering, IBM was offering so many free, Coursera, Udemy, they were all offering free courses. People were using it as funnels to get your email addresses. Just give them any email address and just get your document, and just learn. Because you may not get this time again. So be grateful and keep on learning. Those are the last few things that I have to say. And I hope it helps somebody.
Can I just say one last thing? Sorry, Elizabeth. Sorry, I would actually give myself another thing that we can do. I know Ronke has said quite a lot, and I was actually nodding all the way through, is our relationships. Whilst, I know, of course, our family relationships, but our colleagues as well. What we did with all of my tutors was we had a meeting. It was actually meant to be probably once every fortnight or once every month, just to catch up, because we're now online, and we don't get the opportunity to see one another. And I remember the first meeting I called, and we were all actually on Zoom, and I said, for the next meeting, which would be on a particular date. And one of them actually said, Miss Shola, can we have this every Tuesday? And initially I thought, what every Tuesday? And then I then said, okay, what does everybody else think? And out of, I think there was about 13 of us online that day, everybody actually said, yes, please, because even if you don't have anything to talk about with regards to the sessions, the feedback from the parents, the kids, seeing one another, says a lot. So relationships, well, with what we've got left, just try and build your relationship with your team, relationship with your children, relationship with family, extended, nuclear, and so that they are things you can draw from after COVID. So even if, there are situations, they get to know you. And also be good, be kind. And what I did as well last week was, I do have a planner, which I have my name inscribed on. And as I was speaking, I didn't realize it was actually, that they could see it. And one of the tutors said, Miss, that would be really nice for our Christmas hampers. And I thought, okay. And then that evening, whilst I was actually sitting down and reflecting, I just felt, why do you have to wait till Christmas? What we did was, I told my center manager, just put one into their, to their address, just send it to their home addresses. And the next Tuesday, when they all came in, everybody was in a beautiful and a fantastic mood. So relationships, because of course, they are a source of, the centers, they actually keep things going. So relationships, family, friends, just keep that going as well. COVID-19. Thank you. Sorry, I just thought that was actually really hammering on my mind. I said I better get that out. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having both of you online with us this afternoon. We've learned and relearned some things, and it's been absolutely a great time. And I know that the parents and the kids that will listen to this after this session will also learn from this. So all in all, we should be cheerful, grateful, have a grateful gratitude journal. We should maintain our relationship during this COVID-19 lockdown, and all those things will actually help us as well. And on behalf of Precious Pair, Tolu, do you want to do the honors?
Thank you so much. I've been so quiet because I've been actually taking notes and putting things down. It's awesome to have two amazing people on board here with us and sharing knowledge with us. So thank you so much, Shola, for joining. Thanks so much, Ronke. I've heard so much about you, and I see your posts on Facebook. So it's really great. I've been able to listen to you today. I've learned so much. Communicate with my kids. Ask them what they want. Don't be the Nigerian mom and force my things on them. Give them the space. Look for things in the house. Things are available to us in the house, and explore with the kids. And discover new passions. And then don't leave things to the last. Keep the education. Be consistent with their learning. Make hay while the sun shines, and use the things that we're discovering in this moment to build beautiful things for ourselves, for our children. I've learned so much. I'm sure everybody listening has heard and learned so much as well. Thank you so much. God bless you. I don't feel like leaving. It's been amazing, but we have to go. Maybe we'll do this sometime again, and hopefully, you grace us with your presence again, and we'll think of another fantastic point to talk about so people can learn. Thank you so much. God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks. See you again.
Mr. Shola, I'll just put you on Messenger.
Okay, cool. Yeah.